Okay, I should be live now. I just checked all my mute buttons everywhere. And welcome, beloved ones. This is the Unknown Light Warrior, your loving servant, welcoming you to this, partly for astrological reasons. I guess you would say really needed 144K mass intervention. And it's not just because it's the usual full moon thing, and not even only because of the whole deep, fundamental, most fundamental demolition and transformation of our world, our energetics, that started since the lunar eclipse and really amped up after the Saturn rings meditation on the 23rd. But this, and yeah, lots have been going on at the most deepest fundamental level, which is why it's been so crazy. It's not just because of the difficult nature of eclipse season, but now we also have this full moon coming in, as if it wasn't already crazy enough, really changing our deepest patterns, childhood stuff, parental, ancestral childhood stuff, a lot of that going on at the current incarnational level, interestingly. I tend to specialize in past incarnational stuff, I guess, but at the current incarnational stuff. And then you got the insane panic of the dark ones. It's all happening. It's all coming to a powerful, loud crescendo that the 144K will heroically bring to a triumphant closure and softer landing. Because the collective's personal stuff, deep internal personal stuff, quite often childhood and parental and even ancestral stuff, is really up in a big way. And yeah, people are struggling. I'll just leave it at that. Feel free to share your experiences of recent days or weeks in the 144K Telegram chat. And as we begin to prepare ourselves and relax, just know that, the dark rituals, well, that's nothing new. That always happens. We certainly need to look into that. But because of the astrological purpose, higher purpose and nature of this particular full moon in Libra, the collective seriously needs some massive help with their emotional bodies primarily, just to help people go through this process. Because, too many people are struggling, and that's not healthy for Gaia's grids. So I guess that's the backdrop, the context, the perspective that we all need to have, that I just want to make sure you have. And of course, we got Easter coming up. And although there's a lot less, and I mean way less, 95, 99% less of, dark ones, both on the physical surface and in any hidden temporal bubbles in between space-time and universes. So much of that has been removed. We're in with a real chance to really smooth things over. And as a result, not just help bring healing in a more soothing, gentle way for people after this meditation or as of tomorrow, but it'll allow, as always, the Easter ritual period to be far nicer, far smoother for the collective and for all of us, in spite of the Dark One's activity during Easter. So if you haven't already, get yourself in a comfortable state, relaxed state. Take a couple of deep breaths through your nose, slowly and deeply. And see yourself in that gigantic crystal ball, that very translucent silver crystal ball. Let's call in Gaia, which obviously brings the human collective with us. Authentic Gaia, we call upon the one true authentic Gaia. Please make sure can we please have your permission to take you up with us, up to the authentic God? Okay, good. Her presence is there. See her in the middle. We're all surrounding her. In our astral bodies or non-physical bodies or golden light bodies, whatever works for you. See us all around, dotted all around evenly on the inside of the equator of the crystal ball, and adore and admire Gaia's white polar ice caps, white clouds over the blue oceans, and continent or two. Authentic Gaia, can we please have your permission to take you up with us up to the authentic God beyond the multiverse for more power, like 100 times more power? Yeah, she's feeling humanity's, again, particularly childhood stuff. All right, go ahead and call in your guides if you haven't already, for those of you who consciously work with any. Otherwise, your higher self will do. All righty, well done, everybody. And now we start to move up through the layers of this universe. You notice the first few. Layers of this universe, and then we're zooming up as always. And those white layers, or like floor levels in a building, they just go and turn into that soft flickering of light as we're zooming up the layers of this universe. And know, especially if you're new, that we really are traveling up, and in order to bring in just far greater quantities of light to this, that's still being pretty superficial in terms of description. And, take that occasional glance at Gaia, the soft flickering of light on the walls of the crystal ball. Take that occasional glance over at your guides if you have them, and so on and so forth. The next 144K member, as we're about to break through that last thick outer boundary of this universe. Take that last glance at Gaia. And then all of a sudden, everything goes bright white. Very bright. You can barely see Gaia in the middle. As we reach and move through, push through that last thick outer boundary of this universe. And we're through. The bright light disappears. It's now that dark, translucent silver walls of the crystal ball, and you see that big ball of light. That is the universe that we just left. Rapidly descend into a small ball of light. And don't worry, you don't need to see it perfectly at all. And you see a whole ocean of balls of light, that is all the other universes. And that whole multiverse turns into its own ball of light, and we rise above a whole ocean of other multiverses looking like other balls of light. And that disappears. And it's just us, Gaia, humanity, and our love for Gaia, humanity, each other, and ourselves. We're certainly there. It's just dramatic and intense change for astrological reasons alone, and be that stillness in the storm. Now just take another glance at your guides while I quickly run through the standard protocols. Authentic God, we call upon the one true authentic managers of multiverses, light beings the Hod. Please make sure we go to you and no one else, true Hod. And you look up, and you see through the, the dark, translucent roof of the crystal ball, a little point of white light appear, and very slowly getting bigger and bigger and brighter and brighter. And, you can point to it at your guides. Have fun. And we finally reach it. We come to a sudden yet somehow gentle stop, and we gently, lovingly, slowly move through this platform of light, a very special place, like its own extremely powerful realm is another way to describe it. As you casually hold Gaia in the foreground, and we rise above lovingly, and then it closes at the bottom, rises out, opens up at the top. And we nestle gently, lovingly on top of this platform of life. And by the way, if you're new, you can always, get up and walk around kind of thing. Just hold some kind of brief visual and consciousness on what's going on. The less you try, the easier it is to allow that psychic flow. It's just mostly a case of where your point of attention is, where your focus is. As most of you veterans know. All right, we form a straight line. In unity, combining our energies, hearts and minds. And the crystal ball, we're obviously behind and above Gaia. The crystal ball pulls evenly and slowly to allow for that decompression, if you will. This is very immense, high frequency energy that, again, if you're new, you may not be accustomed to or used to. Okay. Remember to breathe deeply through your nose. Being mindful of Gaia. As the crystal ball peels all the way down beneath us and is gone. And now, some people love this part. We go into a nice, deep, peaceful state of meditation, I guess, by just letting go, relaxing, and just holding that focus, that relaxed, non-trying visual on these light beings. Who very rarely intervene in any universe, only maybe multiverse level. And now we're just going to sit in meditative stillness for a minute or two, especially if you're new, to feel their unique energy signature. You get a pretty good auric clearing just being with them because there's such high frequency. You're getting pumped full of such high frequency. Okay. And now, so I'll be quiet and feel. It's all instantaneous in terms of whenever you're doing energy work. Feel their unique energy signature. And as you look at them, just have a little bit of background attention on your higher senses, which for most of you, unless you're really sensitive, for most of you is in the thalamus area, the center of your head. initially at least. And just be, I suppose, kind of mindful of Gaia. Authentic Hod, can you please send us a massive wave of your energy so we can truly feel you to an undeniable, unmistakable physical level? Remember to breathe deeply and slowly through your nose. Really let go. If you can feel them just fine, you can introduce your guides to them, play around, or feel your aura getting cleansed. Really allow yourself to go into that relaxed alpha state. Okay. Authentic Hod, please send us a massive wave of your energy into our hearts so we can feel you in our hearts. And now, just relax and have a little bit of background consciousness on your heart or chest area to engage the heart, whilst having primary consciousness on them. And let go of linear time or any thought, concern on linear time to access way more power and get into far more stillness. Really allow yourself, give yourself permission to kind of, for lack of a better term, lose yourself in the now, the ever present, which frees you from the essentially tyranny and prison of linear time. Really powerful stuff that every sage spiritualist will always go on about, I guess. Especially if you're new, you're moving all the way up to meditation style 7.0. Again, have a little bit of background attention in your heart or chest area as you're looking at these loving, incredibly powerful light beings that Source has given very special, I suppose, allowances and directives and authority. Of course, this has already effectively begun the mass meditation. Step outside of linear time. It's the only way to go. That's how you change things. Remember to breathe deeply as you're looking at them. Breathe deeply and slowly through your nose and try to hold it on the out breath for a second or two. Ironically, that brings in more oxygen. Okay. And don't worry if you didn't feel anything, it's fine. Okay, put a bit of focus on back to your guides if you prefer. I'll just quickly run through the rest of the protocols to bring in the rest of the teams. I call upon the infinite army of the authentic amalgam. Who are brilliant auric technicians. I call upon the elders of the amalgam. I call upon the team of beings that created this universe and the very unique physicality as a way of figuring out how to corral all dark back to the light. Oberon. See him as a golden being of light, off to the right perhaps. Bear with me because Gaia is already in a quarantine sphere. It just goes to show how massive, massive and deep and foundational the purging and demolition has been since certainly the lunar eclipse. Okay. And just repeat after me for the rest. I'll call upon all of my high dimensional higher selves. I call upon the entirety of my soul. I call upon I call upon my oversoul. Sorry about that. There's just a lot going on because of how intense and crazy both the external energies are and internal energies are of the surface population. And see your oversoul has a bigger ball of light behind your soul, although they still look kind of like distant stars up above. And lastly, repeat after me. I call upon my I am presence. And see that as a bigger ball of light behind your oversoul, authentic, and really connect with it. Authentic legion of light. And all beings of light and guides. There is Gaia. Please take us to the space and place of omnipresence to get so much more done in minutes even. Take that glance at Gaia, some of the teams, your I am, and all of a sudden everything goes bright white. It's so bright you have to squint your eyes and you can barely see Gaia in the foreground. And the bright light disappears. Everything looks the same. Okay. Now, if you're new, you don't necessarily have to see everything and everyone at once. Seeing two light beings or one group of light beings and your I am or soul is still enough. Just, take that casual glance at some others every so often. It really is a free-flowing, freestyle kind of element to it. Authentic Legion of Light. It is April 12th or April 13th in many parts of the world. Full moon, full pink moon in Libra, 2025. And although it's obviously for the highest good, it's been very hard on the surface population just for internal reasons alone, with a deep-rooted fundamental clearings and healings that need to be done, both internally for the collective and externally. We ask that this be, I suppose, consolidated, preferably completed, because we know eclipse seasons can go on for quite a few weeks. But apart from many goals that need to be achieved now to dramatically raise the timelines, we also request that great healing, calming, soothing, and support is provided, given, actualized to the surface population. Plenty of awake and aware and starseeds that have an idea of what's going on are struggling as well. So we We're here to do what we're here to do, but let's bring loving, soothing gentleness to the surface population, to the collective emotional body, one would say, that also heals and soothes and uplifts Gaia herself, who's obviously going to be carrying or empathically feeling this deep-rooted upheaval and clearing that most of the surface population is going through. Albeit all of it being with loving intent. Let's help ourselves and humanity out here. So that's our primary goal, of course. Easter coming up. Dark rituals occurring in real time on the surface on Gaia. There may be one or two hidden worlds or temporal bubbles, also known as universes. We ask you to scan for that from omnipresence and clear it if needed. But above all, let's transform the energies. Bring that gentleness and soothing to help humanity heal in a more gentle manner. So that they don't need or won't need any kind of quote unquote plant medicine in order to anesthetize themselves. That's not healthy either. It damages DNA, by the way. And complete the mass deepest demolition of whatever has been keeping us imprisoned, that really amped up in early March, especially from the lunar eclipse. All right, everybody, look up at your I am and simply say, omnipresence now. Scan and clear anything and everything. Denying us our freedom, bringing true loving healing to humanity. And clear anything hidden whatsoever. Technologies, hidden worlds, temporal bubbles, alternate parallel universes that you access through an atom, also known as dark matter. Make sure that the whole process is all cleared. For that dramatic change in energies and timeline upgrade, a big one. Because enough has been removed over the past 6 weeks in particular to, I suppose, warrant that and make it possible. To make it safe and possible for our off-world and inner earth brethren to bring healing to us, whether it's remote or through direct contact. That's so much of surface humanity needs, especially these days. They just don't have or not equipped with the ability to really heal themselves. I mean, most of us are struggling. So let's get there. Let's do this. And transform these energies. All right, see Gaia, if you haven't already, in a quarantine sphere of any color of your choice. Pick a color that to you represents omnipresence. So pick the color of Gaia, a holographic color of Gaia, green, violet, whatever, within the quarantine sphere that to you represents omnipresence. So your every plane, every density, every dimension, in between time, space, all planes, the whole shebang, for electromagnetic field and aspect, everything included in that one singular holographic color. As a teams, so I've already started scanning, there was this spiral thing, short spiral thing. And I don't mean to put ideas or images in your head, but it was like a snake, how its head is sort of at the top and swirls around with the rest of its body in one spot. Anyway, they got removed, including what appeared to be technologies. It wasn't a snake, it was something else of a spiral nature. And in that non-trying meditative way, we've set the intent with the teams who have more than enough muscle, to put it mildly. So, see them in the background, at least a couple of them in the background on the other side, as always. And know and have confidence that you've set a clear intent in unity with your 144K brethren and teams. Of clearing whatever's denying us our freedom and the full planetary liberation of this planet. Off-world and inner-earth brethren, otherwise known as Galactic Family, to easily reach us, easily heal us, remotely or otherwise, without unpleasant reactions, shall we say, from whatever physical or non-physical force. And to really smooth and transform these energies. Upgrade the timeline. And basically make a night and day difference as to how March and April has been, especially April. So go beyond. If you're new, allow yourself to go beyond your current reference points or level of consciousness by really letting go, and any kind of block, I guess, or hindrance to planetary liberation, whether it's the size of a, quantum particle or an atom, or the size of a building, whatever. The size of an atom, the size of Planck length, which is even far smaller than the size of a quantum particle. It doesn't matter. It'll show you like as if it's almost the size of Gaia, so that you can see it and transmute it. And move on. And that's how, the frequencies just keep on getting higher and higher. So let's just briefly, for 10 or so minutes, clear. Don't think, do. Be in a meditative state. You don't have to, and it's actually better if you don't judge or analyze whatever comes up, because this stuff is in whatever kind of shapes and sizes. Turn it white, watch it disappear. Let's just quickly do that preliminary clearing for the next 10 minutes or so. So hold Gaia in that omnipresent monotone color of your choice in the white quarantine sphere. The teams surround us. This is just such masses of focused light. That's how you free a world. Well, this one. And tell the teams, transmute that there, watch it go white. As always, you can change the background colors when you're transmuting something into white light. You're the god or goddess. And kind of play around, it's sort of something that comes from beyond the rational linear mind. Really move into the right hemisphere of your brain via that hidden mechanism known as, or referred to as, imagination. Just remember to hold for a few seconds the image before turning it white. We'll be doing this only, rapid fire, only for about 10 minutes or so, and I promise this time, because there is actually way less to clear. It really does so well. I'm just going to be quiet for a few minutes. And rest assured, especially if you're new, you definitely don't have to see things perfectly. Totally not necessary. Just allow yourself to go into that deep meditative state whilst holding that point of attention there. Just remember to stay outside the quarantine sphere. And by all of us doing this at once together, we are full on making a massive difference in freeing ourselves again, humanity. It's really bringing healing to the surface humanity, so many of whom are really struggling now. And just keep on doing, you can call it the disappearing act. See something dark, turn it white, hold for a few seconds, watch it disappear. And just keep on going through that for a few more minutes. Take that occasional glance at least two of the teams. And your I am at a minimum on the other side. What comes to you instantaneously? Very faint images when you're not thinking, but you're just focusing with that intent, clear intent that we set 10 or 15 minutes ago. Turn it white. Watch it disappear in whatever way works for you. Very important. This continuously raises the frequency of the entire planet. All right, so some really, deep stuff within Gaia, who's obviously carried the pains and traumas and imprints and whatnot of humanity for hundreds of thousands of years at this point. Just really coming out. And unsurprisingly, it seems to be on the astral or emotional body or plane of the collective and Gaia. I don't know. At least, let's just say some of us are true animal lovers. This is really going to help them too. Of course, I love plants too. Hold. Stand for your freedom. Stand for what is right. For truth and love to finally conquer all and return to the surface. And we've got to clear the muck to do that. Don't worry, it won't take that long this time because so much has been cleared. Whenever you see something dark, that's just a visual form of pain, wounding, block, or darkness itself. You're safe up here outside the quarantine sphere with such well, how do you describe them? I'll just use the term light beings from beyond the multiverse. Hold. And because our I am alone has such power and is fundamentally omnipresent, see it all the way on the other side as a distant star if you prefer. If you can't see your oversoul and soul within it or in front of it, you're the boss. be the boss, but from a place of, I don't know, spiritual and mental maturity, if you will, and groundedness and non-trying. Just make sure you finish transmuting that thing. And if for whatever reason you're struggling, show that thing, that's usually a dark grey colour to represent darkness, show that thing to the teens. The HOD and your I am at a minimum. Again, if you set the right and I guess clear intent, you don't have to know which plane, which density or dimension or what type of quantum particle or what it is, so long as the intent is whatever's denying us our freedom and healing and galactic family reaching the physical 3D surface, per the full moon and eclipse period purpose within that parameter, I guess. And always turn that thing into bright white. We're here to transmute. That's that. Have at it. And in case you're new, once you're finished transmuting something, see the quarantine sphere white again and Gaia in that single monotone color representing omnipresence, everything everywhere all at once with the intent of seeing or finding whatever is denying us our freedom. Galactic family reunion on the physical plane surface. End of story. Moving forward. Any shape or size, whatever. It's better if you just turn it white and try not to work it out, because you don't need to at this level. And faint images are typically the real accurate ones. If it's really vivid and clear, go ahead and transmute it, but that's often within our reference points, which still helps, but doesn't go quite as far. So I'm going to be silent for a few minutes so we can wrap up this chapter. Because I really want to get to the physical third density surface population to really help them out, and ourselves for that matter. Okay, she appreciated that. Nice. And you can also play around with, when you see something, show it to the teams and let them transmute it through your consciousness. Because that's, how it mainly works here. Our consciousness is what they need to work through. And just remove, turn it white, leave a pristine, bright color that to you represents Gaia's natural state. Alrighty. Now let's All right, I'm being guided to the plasma. And I believe it's physical plasma. Just zoom out, hold the intent of seeing the plasma field of Gaia. I know there's etheric plasma, but this seems to be a physical plasma. Don't know why. Omnipresence. Okay, she appreciated that. And then disappear the white light, have a bright, and then disappear it, leaving behind a transmuted, healed plasma. The plasma plane in general. For me, I suppose yellow, almost golden, always seems to represent plasma in my reference points. For you, it might be something else. So see that color, in other words, pristine and smooth within the quarantine sphere. Okay. Authentic Legion of Light. Yeah. All right. Let me check with something. All right. before they want us to close or check for any portals and vortexes opened up by any of the physical dark ones, with their real-time rituals being, Passover and red heifer sacrifice in the Temple Mount Jerusalem, blah, 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 blah. I mean, again, it's nothing too new for a full moon, but this time there is a bit of a extra aspect to it with, Jerusalem and the Temple Mount. But, they do rituals everywhere. So it doesn't necessarily mean that needs our primary focus. Yeah. I kept on getting emotional body of both humanity and the collective and Gaia. So zoom out, reduce the size of Gaia within the quarantine sphere, whatever works for you. Change the color of the quarantine sphere if you need to. Alrighty. Repeat after me, everybody. All right, authentic higher self, soul, oversoul, and I am. Authentic guides and hard. From the space of omnipresence. Heal and transmute the entire emotional plane and negative emotional energies of Gaia and the human collective, preferably every single individual on the physical plane 3D surface. Turn it white, whatever it is that you did see, hold. Again, change, background color of the quarantine sphere, maybe enlarge it. See the teams in the background. Relaxed, loose. You can get up and walk around if you want. We hold and stand for the goddess, for freedom, for everything that we are and stand for. You can do it. Now, in terms of what I saw, I just saw this immediate, revealing of immense, intense, extremely thick blackness. All right. Again, that's just the visual representation of the rather unpleasant emotions that are being brought up, dug up by the intent of the astrology, the winds, plasma, light codes blowing through the planet and everybody's field of the fast. Got at least 3 weeks now, bringing up stuff to be healed. Again, it's been like walking through fire for most of humanity and many of us. You're not alone there. And let's douse the flame. Let's bring that soothing and healing to stabilize us and humanity so that we can then see what needs to be healed, be stable enough to heal, be able to heal collectively and individually. for people to stop doing pharmaceutical antidepressants, anti-anxiety, quote unquote plant medicine and iboga kind of crap that doesn't solve a thing. To allow the light forces, especially off-worlders, to get in there, bring their light in to heal, so that people can, regain enough stability and mental clarity to start, talking to people, to start processing things, to start approaching the right healers or finding the right healing tools, and receive also healing frequencies and beams from off-world or inner earth, galactics, I guess, to bring in that process of healing and return to love as a result and truth. Without, this instability and panic and trauma coming up into everyone's faces. Hold the light. Hold for the love of humanity. I've heard people jumping off bridges this past few days. Take that occasional glance at the teams, at least a couple of them in the background. And now, all the way, move the light right through the collective surface humanity, right into Gaia. Okay, well done. We've got that under control now. Look at least the HOD, the Beyond Multiversal Managers, because they can rip through anything in no time. At a minimum, and your I am, and just repeat after me. Authentic HOD, or authentic I am presence, over soul and soul. Guides and all positive forces heal the collective emotional body of humanity on the surface of the planet, on the physical plane. And you can have some focus on, some of the continents and, the populated areas. And again, do whatever you want with the background colors, but sort of zoom out, for lack of a better term, and see, I guess, transmutational white light. Open up a portal up above Gaia. Look down at Gaia and just see this constant movement of white light, just bringing out blackness, I guess. Bringing out the blackness from primarily the continents. And don't worry, you don't have to get this perfect at all. And, being turned into white light just above the continents. Again, we're all different in this way, whatever works. And see it, all this stream of white transmutational light just sort of coming out through the surface or above the surface, if you will, and just streaming upwards into the portal. See a lot of, bright movement of light throughout the continents. We're just going to do this for, I don't know, 5 minutes. See the occasional micro image of people, holographic images of their emotional bodies just turning white, and white light, right, the white transmutational light sort of going up. So it's been, the darkness, grayness of their emotional bodies just being pulled out as it's being transmuted at the same time. And I'm going to allow you to kind of meditate on this and relax, sort of enjoy the show as if you're not doing it, because in a way you're not. They're just working through our consciousness. And really let go and meditate on this image, because again, the left hemisphere brain tries to get it right, tries to get in the way. So that's why I'm saying just move outward, let go. Faint images always work just as well. It's in my experience. So I'll be quiet for roughly 5 minutes. And as you observe and allow yourself to see what is basically the visual aspect of our intent, I'm seeing blackness coming up, but only for a short split second, a very small amount. It immediately turns to white, above each continent. And so I'm seeing, for the most part, streams of white transmutational light coming out of pretty much each continent and going up into the portal. And we're just going to, you can just see that if you're one of those who just didn't get anything, and it's fine. If you didn't, there's reasons for that. And as we enjoy the show, and I mean that, playing around with the image and taking that occasional glance at beings of light on the other side, checking in with your I am occasionally or regularly, we know that we're removing pretty much all the food that has been powering up entities, darkness, which obviously hasn't been helping matters, even though we have been moving forward and upward nonetheless. But when things get out of hand because of massive progress, ironically, someone needs to step in and just clear things to keep on surging forward. To clear the fear, end the fear. At the emotional, energetic level, it really doesn't have anything. If that's removed and transmuted, and it really speeds up planetary liberation, never mind ascension. You can go from country to country, continent to continent, zoom in, zoom out. Just make sure you have some sort of a occasional visual on beings on the other side. And it really is, I don't know, pick your analogy, energetically emptying out the septic tank, whatever. Hold focus, but play around. This is where you can physically walk around. We're all different. For some of us, that works best. And once this is over, we can have a far better look at the grids and quickly close any vortices or portals and really heal and recover and brighten up the grids. Because these massive, as you're holding focus, these massive surges of light and cosmic winds of light over the past 3 weeks or so in particular, because of the insane amounts of dark removal of stuff, it's brought up people's stuff, deep internal stuff. It's brought that up. So, we're just bringing things under control and stabilizing everything to make sure we continue to surge forward. Otherwise, things do slow down or get frustrated. Otherwise, you and I wouldn't be here doing this right now. Couple more minutes or so. And this is really restoring, I guess, if not accelerating, the rate of ascension. All right, just say to your I am and HOD or teams, complete this process. As we spend the last minute or so completing this process, see all that transmuted emotions, whether it's fear, anxiety, sorrow, grief. We really have to free and liberate Gaia's grids from all this because it's very heavy for her, making it so much harder and certainly slower to ascend. And of course it takes a good 10 minutes to do this, with this unity focus, with the right intent and company, because, it's 8 billion people. And of course, this will stabilize us in our current situation, I guess. So that we can bring the highest intent and purpose of the eclipses and cosmic upgrading winds and the Libra full moon period to a much faster, gentler, and smoother conclusion. Alrighty. Now, we'll finish this off with just doing one continent at a time in terms of that stream of transmutational white light, lifting out, healing and lifting out those horrible emotions and energies, for that matter, out of the surface population's emotional bodies. Again, you can take the occasional micro image of an individual or two or group of individuals in whatever location, regular location, but then zoom out. All right, focus on North America. All right, so basically southern Canada and all the US. And just see, with the oceans on either side, kind of holographically, indigo, whatever, and see a huge, sort of rapidly moving, flashing sort of movement of light from North America. So you basically won't be able to make out Canada, for example. Pardon me. And just, holding that intent of completely healing, clearing the emotional bodies, like that stream of light moving up through North America, shooting upwards into that thin stream, into that portal way up above. Just see it, I don't know, maybe starting from Canada, moving downwards, this soothing light green, blue kind of color replace that whole blackness that was being turned into white around the surface. And the white light sort of stopping, if you know what I mean, and just move into Mexico. White light, the stream of white light sort of stopping, and the land basically being replaced with a soothed, cool, sort of fresh blue, light blue or green, whatever works for you. I'm getting blue-green, or what's the word? Aqua, turquoise, I think it is. Through down to southern Mexico, the Yucatan Peninsula, and Central America, having pulled out and healed and soothed the emotional bodies of the surface population, and, down into Colombia, and so that stream of intense whiteness just disappearing and being replaced by a beautiful turquoise color. Gentle, and obviously down into Argentina and Chile, and then just quickly switching over to Africa and Europe. Don't worry about getting it right. Teams on the other side. Through Europe. Into as far east as Turkey, Ukraine, Russia, and Scandinavia, and down into North Africa, and zooming, sort of going through the Sahara pretty quickly, because there's not many people there, into sub-Saharan Africa, and over into Israel and Palestine, Suez Canal, the Saudi Arabian Peninsula. Over into the Persian Gulf. Iran, towards Afghanistan, India, I should say. And, obviously the areas, countries or continents that are cleared, there's no more of that upwards going stream of light. Just to clarify, over into, Burma, Cambodia, Tibet, China. Into Manchuria, Korean Peninsula, Japan, etc. Down into Indochina, Philippines, Thailand, and Vietnam, all that. Malaysia and Singapore Peninsula, Philippines, leaving a beautiful, healed, soothing turquoise color, which is blue-green. And into Borneo, Indonesia, Jakarta. Right across, and of course into Australia and New Zealand, which doesn't take long because they're so sparsely populated and small populations. But light them up. Don't worry, Tasmania, we won't forget you. New Zealand. And let's, again, now just move, perhaps a swirling blue-green light color throughout the surface of Gaia. And now healing and healing. And now what we're going to do is we're just going to brighten up the grids. So just begin to move a thin white light. And we are going to double check for any portals or vortexes that the ritualists will have opened up, just to make sure. But by brightening everything up, we'll be able to spot any vortexes and portals I've opened up pretty quickly. Otherwise, it's difficult. Yeah. Alrighty. So what we're going to do, again, we'll start off with North America, a lap. We're just going to move a very intense, bright white light, like a line, bright, shining, somewhat thick line of white light, holding focus and intent on healing, clearing, brightening, and therefore really raising the grids. Okay. And by grids, everyone knows the 188-degree Lee line and so forth, but you don't have to know it completely at all, because it's a bit more than just the ley lines. You just see all sorts of lines, crisscrossing lines, converging lines, glistening into brightness and whiteness in amongst a, indigo or violet, dark violet color, whatever. And we're about to start in a minute, as that bright, thick white line moves through a particular continent. So that's the basics of it. Now repeat after me, everybody. Authentic higher self. Authentic managers of whole multiverses. The HOD. Authentic I am presence over soul and soul. Angels and guides. Work through me now to completely transform and raise the grids and Gaia's frequency. All the way up to the highest possible timeline that just transforms these horrible energies that are clearly up for transmutation. So pick whatever background color you want. That's, before the thick, bright white line moves through. We're about to start moving it through the Western Pacific, I guess, starting with Canada, and just see the brightness all together, starting from Hawaii, going all the way up into Alaska. It's a big deal bases over there. And take your time, and when we start to move that extremely bright but somewhat thin from a distance, white light from North Pole to South Pole, more or less, it'll, I suppose, leave behind a kind of like a glistening, bright, gemstone-y kind of lines, grids, brightness. And so let's start doing that now. Again, my personal favorite background color is indigo or dark blue. Pick whatever works for you. White light. Acknowledge the presence of the teams in the background, your I am and the HOD at a minimum. And sort of, I don't know, act as if they're doing it, for lack of a better term. And white light, intense, bright, shiny, all the way, obviously in the concave or curved semicircle shape of the surface of Gaia. All the way down to the South Pole, and just slowly move it over, and you can move around with imagery, Hawaii lighting up and lighting up, moving it over. And you can put primary focus on just the continents if you find that easier, that's fine. And, because I prefer to put 70% of my focus on, Alaska in this example, because it's such a big deal area. And move it across. Enjoy the show. Teams in the background. I am up above. You know the drill. Grids, crystals, what have you, light it up. Goddess Gaia would appreciate it, I can assure you. And obviously moving into Canada. So it's obviously reaching and moving through Western Canada, reaching and moving through the Western United States, and just touching on Mexico. It's all in like, that diagonal sort of slant. And the reason, why I prefer to put 70% of my focus on the continents is obviously that's where the surface population is with their, angst and fear and worry and emotional bodies, where that obviously weighs down the grids. We cleared the emotional bodies. Let's do the grids now. Moving across gently, white light, moving gently across North America. And leaving behind that, beautiful, glistening, rainbow-colored goddessy lines and whatnots. Moving into Mexico now, halfway through the Midwest. Approaching Hudson Bay in Canada. And reaching the the Gulf of America. Oh, awesome. This is really helping to stabilize things, calm things, shifting things in order to, return everything to something totally manageable so that people can get that mental clarity and heal, seek better resources, and so on and so forth. All right, over into Eastern US. Well done, everybody. Approaching East Coast, obviously very densely populated. Reaching Florida, the Carolinas, and now Delaware, New York. Into South America now, which is, south of the Florida handle over the Caribbean, lighting Latin America up. And, just visualize this as thy will per what is shown to you. Try to be the witness, don't sort of necessarily do it all yourself. Into past and you do sort of want to take your time with this to really light it up. Past northeast Brazil. Moving across the Atlantic Ocean, lighting Gaia up, restoring her to a pristine beauty with regards to the surface area, surface vicinity of the surface grids, because, you know, the atmosphere, let alone upper atmosphere and inner Earth, is in pretty good shape. So we're just focusing on the surface area, lower atmosphere, and crust. Moving over and reaching West Africa, the Sahara, moving across the heavily populated sub-Saharan western part. And of course, entering Portugal and Spain now. France, England up above, etc., reaching Italy, reaching Denmark and Germany. You know, across Central Africa on the other side, into South Africa, and then down into Antarctica, which isn't too bad because, you know, there's hardly anyone there by comparison anyway. And take your time, you know, see, now the preceding part of the white, thick transportational light designed to light up the grids, you know, see it in a more darker indigo color to contrasting as the white line, thick line approaches, moving into Egypt now, Eastern Europe, Turkey, Ukraine, you know the drill. And you don't have to see the continents that clearly at all. It's more the surface through that holographic indigo color and the approaching intense white light that hugs the crust and lower atmosphere of Gaia. Really recovering the grids, raising the timelines, stick with it, intensify the light if that resonates. All right, let's all briefly park our consciousness, or should I say visual, on the Saudi Arabian Peninsula and East Africa. To make sure we're all together and, you know, encompassing Israel and Palestine, those important grids. And now let's just, again in unity, move over. Slowly making our way over the Persian Gulf into Iran, Indian Ocean, obviously. Approaching India, reaching India, and everything above and below, obviously. Moving it along. Lighting it up into East Asia, Indochina, China, Tibet, Himalayas, etc. The Malaysian Peninsula, reaching Western Australia now, Indonesia, Eastern China, Korean Peninsula in short order. Lighter up into past Japan, through all of Indonesia, Australia, Light it up. The teams, well, again, all that is really proud of you, and I'm not kidding, for essentially retrieving a pretty hard situation. Ironically, because of the huge successes and breakthroughs throughout the eclipse season. Across into Eastern Australia, the Great Divide. Light it up. Unapologetically. Okay. Leaving all these, take an occasional glance of, beautiful rainbow colored crisscrossing lines, nice and healthy. And of course, lining up the Pacific Ocean, that's always a little quicker because it's salt water that's very sparsely populated, so we can move quickly through that. So paying a little bit of attention to, northeast Russia, reaching into Alaska again, and finally coming back to the Hawaii, Alaska kind of latitude. And if you want, we can do just for another 20 seconds, one more quick round where we're all just now moving that thick, bright white line sort of quickly, like one revolution around the whole planet within 5 seconds, so that you can we can just focus a bit more on those gorgeous rainbow colored crisscrossing lines and ley lines at a minimum. There's always more than that, and just really soothing, restoring, brightening. Just keep on moving. We're all going freestyle here. Really moving the white light and brightening the lines, brightening your part of the world, because now you can. So much stuff has been removed, especially the horrible, dark, negative energies of the negative emotions of Gaia and the human collective. And obviously we had to get rid of that first to be able to do this. Otherwise it wouldn't hold anywhere near as well and as long. There is something to knowing what you're doing, I guess. Again, you can put comparatively more focus on your part of the world. Alrighty. Well done, everybody. This is really fantastic. I really mean it. And now let's just double check. Let's start off with North America. I guess I'm a little biased there. And see the surface area color in your color of your choice, or whether it's light blue, light green, and just actually repeat after me. Authentic high self, authentic HOD, oversoul soul, and teams. Find and close any dark portals, beginning with anyone that's any rituals that have opened up portals and vortexes. Okay, there's a bit of blackness in the LA area. Close it, move white light, nice and easy. Good. Let me see, there we go. I think that's Phoenix. So, and often it'll show you, your mind's eye or the teams will show you a given vortex or portal far bigger than what it actually is, just for the sake of seeing it. And just, move the white light, close it. You can still use the same white light method to move it through, while holding the intent of closing portals and wormholes these charming characters have opened up. Again, which they always do every full moon and new moon, but there's an Easter period sort of Jerusalem aspect to things this time. So that's why I'm just making sure we take care of this. And move through to Europe. England, they're always busy there. And, some of us are better at this than others. That's normal. That's why we work together, because our combined strengths and sort of compensate for our combined weaknesses, or not necessarily weaknesses, but just not our forte, not what we're built for. Again, honoring your soul purpose and uniqueness is critical. And move through Africa, closing. Be sure to don't forget Europe. And of course, Jerusalem, making sure we get that. Close. Light it up all the way across the Middle East, Ukraine, Kazakhstan, etc., into Siberia, moving the white light. And you can, zoom out and, for lack of a better way of putting it, witness or imagine the teams doing this. These massive multi-layered, multi-level, multi-dimensional, and beyond light beings. Really restoring everything, because of people's deep internal stuff being pushed up by the very strong cosmic winds. It's really affected the emotional body of Gaia and the grids, etc. And this will help surface humanity better receive the help, the support, the resources, and in many cases, direct healing frequencies from our inner earth and off-world brethren. This is allowing for that as well, in a way where there's no nasty repercussions or reactions from whatever physical and non-physical forces still present on the surface. And don't mean to boast here, but we're just continuing to be the heroes, I guess, for lack of a better term, that we're here to be as you continue. Obviously we're finishing up here. Continue to, sit back, relax, enjoy this constant wave of intense bright white light moving across and around the planet, lighting up, glistening up. Really consolidating and building of this critical intervention of the 144K to, again, stabilize things and put on the fast track. You're getting into the healing and mental clarity the surface population needs. And now, we really go freestyle here. Focus and see it, witness it in whatever way works for you. Zoom in, zoom out, whatever. As we finish up for the next 2-3 minutes. Closing any blackness, little black dots basically, lighting up the grids, really make them bright. There's the regular ley lines that many of us are familiar with. There's the dragon ley lines throughout the mountain ranges. And zoom out and really just see Gaia, for lack of a better term, like a Christmas tree with all these gems and bright, glistening, rainbow-colored, crisscrossing lines. Infuse it with light from your heart, your soul, your essence. Nice and bright. You can make out a little bit of the shorelines, faint shorelines of the continents. Fill it with light. Light it up. Green, blue, violets. Boy, are they thankful. Anything you want to do personally per your soul path and purpose, go ahead and have at it. As we're more or less done, just keep on moving the white light, wave of white light, round and round and round, hugging the crust and lower atmosphere of our goddess. As we're basically done. Again, this allows galactic and intergalactic cosmic forces to get lower, get closer, beam better, directly at us, really helping out far more, because the resistance and, backlash is greatly reduced, in some cases removed, so they can really, help us more directly, beam us more directly, without things going, without the backlash and kickback and the usual garbage, as we are largely done. And, there's always, all right, a little over 2 hours. That's better. All right, just say to your I am presence and your guides, consolidate. As we finish up. So that there's intense but important divine intent of the Libra full moon is made not just far more gentle, but reaches its highest potential, from the astrological cosmos intent perspective. And many of us specialize in this, that, or the other per our soul purpose. You can go ahead and do that. As we're pretty much finished up, feel the pride. You can say, hey, when it all went south, I did something about it. United with my fellow beloved, everyone on this call, and I did what I could. I went for it when it counted the most, when humanity, really needed it the most. And I mean pride in the positive divine sense of the word, not in the conceited 7 sins sense of the word. It's not what I mean at all. And zoom, when you're ready, zoom out a little bit more, see, a very holographic, dark toned sort of quarantine sphere and Gaia, and so that you can move your white light, just a line of white light throughout the quarantine sphere and through Gaia, across Gaia, holding the intent of removing your energetic traces. And you can say, calling back my tracks if you want. Move the white light this way and that way, from left to right, north to south, throughout the quarantine sphere, the field, the quantum field. Remember to do this every day. And we're done. All right, that's a little over 2 hours. I'm proud of myself this time. And even let's just say, I don't want to speak for everyone here, but if you're feeling a lot more calmer and still and stable, well, it sure helps to be part of the 144K or any other such, I guess, specialized meditation groups. So well done, everybody. Zoom out. Thank the HOD, your I am, teams, soul oversoul, etc. Thank them. receive their love and respect. Look all around at that original, dotted golden ring that was around Gaia, which is all the other 144K members. Feel the unity, the company, because you're not alone, beloved one. And I know we all know that intellectually, but feel it. And although this has radically improved things, we still need to allow for the overnight process to, I guess, complete itself. For the surface population to have its overnight sleep, which it often needs to really recover from these intense times, and wake up feeling better the next morning with different energies. Just allow that 12-hour process to occur. It is full moon period, They say 3 days before and 3 days after the full moon, which is when the energies are up, so to speak, often involving emotions being up. So it's all good. Don't worry. You can step back, relax, feel confident and content that you did your part. Okay. And relax, step back. Bring yourself back into the here and now, and know that our galactic and inner earth brethren can sort of take it from here, let alone non-physical brethren can take it from here, because, again, that godlike projection of consciousness from the physical to the non-physical, from the physical 3D surface on this planet, really was needed on this occasion. So well done. White light, come back into the room. I love you all. And go for a walk. Or if it's nighttime, late at night, watch a movie. Anything that works for you in terms of enjoyment, relaxation. You can relax, you can let go. It's okay if the energies are a little bit hairy here and there. It's all right. It is Saturday night, at least in North America. It is the height and peak of the middle of this 6-day period of the full moon period. It was intense times. We're still in the eclipse period, really. A wonderful astrologer, she said, the thing about eclipse periods, especially the big major ones with the what's it called? Eclipse in Aries cycle, which started with the October 13th, 2023 eclipse. That's when the whole eclipse in Aries period started. That whole thing won't truly end and the energies completely settle and calm down until May the 14th. As in completely. Now we've brought that way forward and calmed things way down far quicker and more to 95%, with the remaining 5 or so percent completely closing and ending and calming by May 14th. Because there's always the astrological aspect of things, which is basically the cosmos intent. So all good and well done. Enjoy the rest of your night and or day. This is your loving servant. Don't forget to leave your little report in the 144K Telegram chat. And well done. This is your loving servant, the Unknown Light Warrior, bringing this physical level, multidimensional intervention, as far as our critical role is concerned, to a lovely, gentle, uplifting close. All things considered, hey? So well done. Be proud. And see you all. Oh, good. We've got a great showing on the social media chats here. Yeah. Big hugs, beloved ones. Stay tuned. Watch your inbox. See you on the Telegram chat. 144K.